Welcome to the Wingman Show. My name is Drew Brown, and my wingman, my man, the number one guy I know, Dr. Paul Thompson. What's up, brother? Welcome to the Wingman Show, where we're floating like butterflies and stinging like bees. Rumble, you two badass jet pilots, rumble. Welcome to the Wingman Show. My name is Commander Drew Brown, my wingman, my friend, the guy who watches my six, my main man, Dr. Paul Thompson. How are you, Brother Paul?
No, look, Commander Drew, it's good to see you today. You're looking chipper and good. I like your background. I'm doing fine. I feel pretty good. Little muscle soreness. Other than that, I'm doing good.
Well, good. I hope you take a little rest for that muscle soreness. We got a quote for you today, Dr. Paul, and for everybody out there, I think you'll really like. It takes courage to believe that the best is yet to come. That's by Robin Roberts. One more time. It takes courage to believe that the best is yet to come. I'm an optimist, Dr. Paul. I believe that the glass is half full, and that's because I'm not thirsty. You know, when they say, is the glass half full or half empty? Well, it depends how thirsty you are. I'm not thirsty. I'm an optimist. And I believe that good will overcome evil. That's my premise, Paul.
Yeah, that's a good premise to have, and that's a good way to keep a decent attitude. With some of the headlines in the news these days, it's easy to kind of get depressed, no matter who you are, and to see a silver lining in the middle of a cloud is a good uh, power to have. I think we should all try to do that and keep from being down in the dumps and look up. Keep your head up, keep your chin up, and look for opportunities. Look for something to do. Don't get too waylaid by stuff you hear.
Well, I try to take positives. I make a negative into a positive, and I learn from the past. That's very important for me. And, you're talking about talking to a friend. Well, you're my friend. And the name of our show this week is How to Handle Political Anger. Talk to a good friend. And the reason I said that is because something happened last week. I was listening to some guy on television, political guy. It doesn't matter, but he got me so angry. I didn't know which way to turn. And it's just because I didn't like the way he was speaking, what he was saying. And you know what I did? I came and talked to you, didn't I, Paul?
You did. That helps. I guess I'm kind of a therapist, but I need we're each other's therapists actually.
Yeah, but I really let you have not let you have it. I really let him have it in front of you. And what that did was that took all the anger out. I just, I expressed my feelings to you, Paul, and I did it in a way that I didn't have to apologize. I could get loud. I could do anything I want because you're a friend. You sat there and listened to me. And I'm telling you, after that session of you and I speaking, I felt so much better. And then I realized anytime you have a problem, if you share it, that's half the problem gone right there. You have to have a good friend sometimes to talk about it. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's good too. Instead of keeping stuff like you say, if you kept it bottled up inside of you, how would that made you feel? Probably not too good. Probably raised your blood pressure, messed up your cortisol, messed up some other stuff. And because you can make yourself sick. You can actually do that physically with stuff you're thinking without any disease or any injury or anything physical. You could be sitting in a chair and actually make yourself sick. So don't do that. Do it. Don't self sabotage yourself. And I had that same thing. You struggle with it, but after a while, now get it out of you. I'll just throw this on. Somebody we both know. You may not remember. I remember he was worried about something that was going to happen. It was with the company. Something was going to happen. He worried is that he actually had a stroke.
Oh my
He,
goodness.
he died not long after, within a year. And I remember him ranting and raging over what they're going to do. They're going to do this, that. Long story short, that never happened. It never happened. I won't say what it was. I remember it specifically. This was a very nice, easy guy, but he went crazy, and I don't say he'd make himself sick. He had all kinds of cancers and stuff. Prior to that, he was fine, but it never happened.
Well, the first time, my very first flight, at FedEx. I don't know if I ever told you this. We were going from Memphis to Anchorage, and it was on a 727. And I swear the captain was bitching about his sailboat. He had to redo the floor on his sailboat, and the wood came in one, I think it was 6 inches too short. And I mean, he bitched for hours about this and that. And I'm sitting there saying, "You got a sailboat? You have a sailboat and you're bitching about this?" And what happens is, as you get more educated, Dr. Paul, you'll realize this. What happens is you create cortisol in your body, and that destroys organs. It's a natural chemical that will kill you if you release too much of it.
Yeah. Yeah. So be it for political stuff or a sailboat or,
Your
your
wife or anything, have a
right.
good
Yeah.
friend to talk to.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. I was gonna say all the way to Anchorage. That was a lot of complaining because on 727, you didn't do it in one leg, you'd stop somewhere. So he must have been complaining for a long time.
There's a lot of complaining, but then I realized what a great job I had, that if he's complaining about sailboats, one day I'll have a sailboat.
There you go.
Well, let's talk about some good news here, Dr. Paul. You know, the greatest basketball player in the world is now starting to be, who is it? Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Michael Jordan, LeBron James, which I personally don't like comparing them because they're both great in their own ways. And that doesn't make one worse than the other. But let me tell you about my man, Michael Jordan. I don't know if you know this, but we both just read, well, I guess you do know it. We just both read that he's opened up his fourth health clinic in his home state of North Carolina for people who don't have insurance and for people who are underserved. And it's his fourth one. He started in Charlotte and now he's done it in Wilmington. Dr. Paul, this is incredible. He gave like $10 million and he's a billionaire. So the money's not important. What's important is that he cares about where he came from.
Yeah, that's good. That's good on him. In years past, he'd come under quite a bit of criticism for, I guess, not doing anything or perceived as not doing anything. You never know because sometimes people who are incredibly wealthy do incredibly good things and there's no fanfare. They may do it quietly because everything's not your business, it's not our business, to be honest with you. But it's easy to judge somebody, from afar. So he did that. He's more public about it than I'd seen him in the past. Realize that he's in his 60s now. We're not young. He's not a young 19-year-old guy or 22-year-old guy. You see things as you get older, you learn, and he's applying himself, to other people, not just for himself, and that's good because people definitely need it. Probably need it more now than ever.
And Paul, real charity, and this is when you really become somebody who's yeah, believes in themselves and doesn't have to show other people what they do. Real charity is when you don't tell anybody what you've done. And these famous people sometimes do a lot of stuff for a lot of people and they don't get any publicity. So the bad publicity is that they're not doing anything. But the real idea in charity is to give from your heart and not give because you can tell people how much you gave. And I'll be honest with you, being rich and famous, especially like somebody like Michael Jordan, their life is not very easy. They can't go out in public like you and I. They can't go to Walmart or Costco. They can't do the things that you and I take for granted every day, Paul.
Yeah, yeah, it'd be nice to walk around and not have to have all kinds of security and people watching this and watching your relatives, and because everybody can be under threat, unfortunately. So sometimes it's nice to not be known.
Well, let's do this then. This is not good news, but I think it's good news that we're bringing this up. Kids are now losing their fine motor skills. You sent me this article, it's incredible. But these screens are actually maybe to blame, texting and the televisions and the computers and the video games. These kids don't even know how to tie their shoes or button up their shirts because all they do is play with a screen. And 77% of all educators saying that kids are really having trouble with handwriting and just playing with pencils and things like that, Paul. What do you think?
Yeah, that's yeah, and I've seen that. We're trying, counting that with our grandson. Yeah, one of the best things everyone should do. Everybody should know how to write. Everyone should know how to write script. That is very, 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 very important. I don't care what the educational establishment is saying today. There's a lot of exercise you get with your mind, your brain, and your dexterity, not just swiping all the time. Anybody can do this. We scroll. We're experts at scrolling, either with your finger or with holding a button on a controller, but not doing basic things. For kids, get out and play. You just get out and play. That'll correct these things. The good news is that this stuff is correctable.
Yeah.
Once there's movement, it's all easily correctable. Nobody likes to doing cursive writing. I understand they stopped teaching that 10, 12 years. I think that's a huge mistake. Huge mistake. Huge mistake. Do some cursive writing. Do some kind of cursive writing, especially with young people, even old people. Do it because you exercise your brain. Try to even use both hands. Challenge yourself. You work your whole brain.
That's really good. Be ambidextrous. But
Yeah,
our children need to go out in that dirt and start digging up rocks and throwing things and looking at
yeah,
butterflies and actually using their fingers to get dirty. And, my grandchildren, the article said this too. My grandchildren have these building blocks, but they're magnetic. So if you get it close to the next block, it attaches itself. Kids are not
sure.
building, just using blocks of wood and building things like remember not Legos, remember Lincoln logs? You have
Yeah,
to be able to use your fingers.
yeah, yeah. Get up, ride a bike, do some balancing. Just basically go out and play. I don't see kids out playing much, just
No,
in general.
I don't think so either,
Just in
Doc.
general. You know, Forget about yard work. Yeah, I just don't see it. So
Well,
move.
everybody out there, thank you so much for listening to us on Apple Podcasts, watching us on YouTube, or checking out our shorts on Instagram and TikTok. Thank you so much for all of your letters and all of your support. And if you want, check out those badass jets we got behind us. Behind me, I'm coming aboard uh, the USS Nimitz on an A6 Intruder. And behind Paul, I told him it was his A7 until we looked a little bit closer. That's an F8. That's an F8 cruiser. Paul, tell me something about that badass F8 because that was a big ass plane when I was on the carrier.
Yeah, the FA Crusader. I just had one friend that flew them for a while. They were kind of going. They were being mothballed or they got rid of them altogether during my tenure. So I never actually saw one fly. They were like frontline fighters for the Navy for a while, replaced by the F4, and eventually they just used them for photographic missions. Uh, high speed, photo surveillance. Apparently, it was pretty tough to bring aboard the ship. It was notoriously difficult to land safely on the carrier. There are lots of movies or videos you can see with them having a landing mishap. So, when I was in, I think they only flew during the daytime.
Yeah,
Was that tough?
when I was in, they had F8s on the ship and also A3s, and those were two big planes, and both of them, it was very hard to bring aboard the ship. And the bad part is that if you were really, really good in your class, in your getting your wings, they would assign you one of those because they usually sent the better pilots to airplanes that didn't fly aboard the carrier very easily. So they used to put their best pilots there. And sometimes people were really bummed out about that. Well, everybody out there, we have a website, and our website is wingmanshow.com. That's wingmanshow.com. You can write Dr. Paul and I a letter. And we have a newsletter. And this week's newsletter is how to handle anger in today's society. How to handle anger in today's society on our newsletter. And remember, that's wingmanshow.com. But on there, we also have something called the frequent flow line. And that's when you guys get to ask Dr. Paul and myself a question. Our question this week is from a 42-year-old man in Cleveland. He writes, I think your show is uplifting, informative, and I feel good after listening to it. And that brings me to my problem. I was just laid off from my federal job of 7 years. I thought I would retire there. My whole life has been turned upside down. Do you guys have any suggestions? I really trust your opinions. God bless you. Well, first of all, thank you. That's a great letter. And thank you for that because we actually tried to make a show that when you finish listening to our show, our objective is to make you feel a little bit better than when you started. Paul, you want to take this letter first?
Yeah, that was a very touching letter. Thank you for your kind comments. And yes, we try to be uplifting, and I want to be uplifting to you too. Sorry you were laid off from your job. That's a tough one. You're 42 years old. To me, you're still a younger man. There are probably people 10 years old, your senior or older, who got the same news recently with these reductions. That's the thing about a government job that was always known. I always told those were secure positions. That's one of the reasons people always liked them. And they were reasonably, they were attainable for most folks. So once you're there, you were set. But now that's not the case because our whole world is kind of like a minefield. So what you basically will have to do is to, find out what you can do, hopefully something you like. But again, you may be one of those people we recommend that has to go to school, back to school, or for additional training. AI has unfortunately made a lot of things obsolete, and that's not stopping anytime soon. Just from I have a son that went to a major engineering conference recently. He's talking about, the people who are looking for people to do this and do that. And a lot of them are managers of these advanced systems. So we all are going to have to learn how to do that, especially if you're a younger person. You're going to have to be very flexible. There are not too many things too many careers really, realistically, you can just go into and say, okay, I'm finished. I'm done. I don't have to look at anything else. Things are updating too much. So we're all being forced into being lifelong learners, even just to use our devices. The new things you'll have to learn. I'm sorry for a situation, but look at what you can do. Look at what you're interested in and what's attainable. Uh, I wish you good luck, but look on the bright side. You can do other things.
That's a great answer, Paul. I'm going to take this spin on it. First of all, I do believe in God. I believe there's something out there bigger than me that looks after me. And remember, I know that good will overcome evil. So even though this might look like a negative thing, this might be a very, very positive thing for you. You know, this is when you can maybe change what you're doing. Did you really like that job? Maybe you can get into something that you love. I will tell you something. Paul and I were looking at this, but AI, just like he said, is taking away jobs. Well, it's also giving jobs because if you can get into AI or learn about AI, you might have a job for a very long time. What I always told my children is to get a skill that they can't take from you. Like Dr. Paul and I, both of us, you can take all our clothes, throw us butt naked out into the street in some country anywhere in the world, and within months, we'll be flying an airplane because that's a skill you can't take from us. And right now, maybe is a time to change directions. But don't just take this negatively. Try to look at the positive part of this and find something that you like to do. But anger will not change this at all. Start really looking for something that you want to do and make it happen. It's going to take a little work, though. Don't you think, Paul? And
Yeah, I
that
agree. Yeah, I agree with what you said. Yeah, the anger won't help. Like we said at the beginning of the show, maybe you need to talk to somebody, maybe you need to scream a little bit or punch a punching bag and kind of get that out of you, or run 10 miles or do 100 push-ups or something. Get that done. And then after that being said, how can I focus on the rest of my life?
that's correct. Find you a good friend like Dr. Paul and I, and that might solve your problem as far as your emotions. But find a skill that you love. And you know what that brings me to? That brings me to a Wingman PSA. From the 11 facts in life, under fact number 6. Avoid these 8 deadly sins, and the deadly sin today is anger. When mad, sit down, shut up, and do nothing for 24 hours. When mad, sit down, shut up, and do nothing for 24 hours. Dr. Paul, 20 seconds of anger can get you 20 years in the penitentiary. You got to be very careful with that anger. And we were talking about cortisol and what happens when you get mad. Our body turns into this fight or flight kind of response, and cortisol drips and adrenaline drips. And it will actually, that's why you can pick up a car if your kid is under it, because all that goes into your muscles, but all the oxygen drains out of your brain. So, anger, when you get mad, you need to sit down, shut up, and don't do anything for 24 hours. Because I guarantee you, tomorrow you will not feel the same as you felt today.
Right.
Oh,
I agree. Can I add something to that? While you're
yes,
doing that, might not be a bad idea to try a little deep breathing. Breathe into a count of four, hold it for a count of four, exhale to a count of four.
that's a
Little
good
stuff.
idea to do when you're sitting down. When you're mad, sit
Yeah,
down,
yeah,
shut up, and breathe.
yeah. See if you do it for 5 minutes.
Maybe we'll change that. Instead of do nothing for 24 hours, breathe for 24 hours.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
but I do love that saying 20 seconds can get you 20 years. Don't let
yeah.
that happen to you. All right, everybody, let's talk about the gouge. And in the Navy, the gouge is shit you need to know, but sometimes nobody tells you. You said, Dr. Paul, that your shoulder was hurting. Well, what
Mm.
I have here is the 7 worst habits for your joints. And I will tell you, out of all the things that hurts me, they are my joints, my shoulders, my knees, and that's just from time on planet. A lot of people want to say age. I'm going to say time on planet. Well, these are the 7 things that will help you if you're starting to get arthritis or pain in your joints. Number one, stop smoking. Stop smoking. Nicotine in cigarettes actually narrows your blood vessels, and as a result, it restricts the amount of oxygen and critical nutrients that reach the joint cartilage. It actually will make your joints hurt. Stop smoking. What's another one, Paul?
Another one is a physically inactive lifestyle. Get up and move. Get up and move. You know, basically, if you're sedentary, you're more likely to gain weight. You put that extra weight on, that puts more pressure on your joints and everything, especially your hips, your hands, your knees. Especially your knees. I've got some knee issues that I'm kind of working on a little bit. So things you can do, but basically move around so you don't get too heavy, too fat, and too much pressure on those knees particularly. I got a little shoulder issue, but that was probably brought on not by being inactive. For me, it might have been a little too active a couple of days ago.
Wow. How did you bring me to the number 3 reason? Overdoing exercise. And everybody out there, I need to tell you, Dr. Paul exercises a lot. And I've even told him maybe a little too much sometimes. But
Yeah,
overdoing exercise, and I'm not talking about us, I'm talking about people who try to cram everything in to do 2 days on the weekend. Your muscles and your bodies can't deal with cramming. You need to do things low and slow and
right.
low and slow and continuous. Overdoing exercise can be just as bad as not doing exercise, because what will happen is you'll get hurt and then you can't do any exercise. What about number 4, Paul?
Number four, this might be part of my problem too. Carrying a heavy load. Yeah, I was doing something called farmers walks. Anyway, heavy lifting. You're basically carrying too much stuff, particularly if you carry it at a weird angle. That can get on you. I think that's an aging thing too. Yeah, I was doing farmers carries. I picked up 2 kettlebells and I walked around my driveway a little bit. They're not super heavy. They were heavy enough. That can actually make you stronger too. But I did it with combined with too many push-ups at the same time. And my left arm said, okay, stop. Okay, so I'm stopping. But don't lift too, super heavy stuff. Get some help.
And your body's very smart. When something hurts, it means stop.
Yeah,
It's very
stop.
smart. You need to learn how to listen to your body. For every pound that you lose, it reduces the weight on your knees by 4 pounds, which is incredible. That means if you lose 10 pounds, it's like your knees don't have to lift 40 pounds, which is incredible. And if you don't think that that hurts, grab a 25-pound dumbbell, not just like Paul is doing for exercise, but walk around with it and see how your knees feel. It won't be nice. It just won't
Right.
be. All right, number 5. Wow, this is big. Eating pro inflammatory foods. Here it goes: red meat, white sugar, French fries, soda, pastries. These are pro inflammatory foods. In other words, this is what makes you inflame your joints. And when you have inflammation, that causes pain. You have to start putting good things in your body. It's very important. Like I drink turmeric in my shake, and turmeric
Hmm.
actually reduces inflammation. What do you think
Yes.
about eating pro-inflammatory foods? You really, and things, I'm sorry, things like flaxseed oil, cold water fish like salmon and mackerel, those are anti-inflammatory foods. Paul, what do you
Yeah.
think?
Yeah, those are good. Yeah, olive oil was also great too. Yeah, I'm not too much on the red meat. Very little bit. I had a little bit of lamb last night, tiny bit. Yeah, the white sugar I've not used in probably 25, 30 years. French fries, maybe a couple of times a year. Soda, zero. Pastries, a little guilty.
Me
There's
too,
a
me
place
too.
yeah, a little, not too much. It depends on what counts as pastries. Now I'm parsing things,
But
but
Paul, as far as that soda thing, I'm with you. I don't drink sodas and haven't drank sodas in years.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's a big thing because that's basically liquid sugar. That's
That's
liquid
right.
sugar, big time. Maybe
What's the
worse
next
than.
one, Paul?
Oh, next one, texting. Text too much. Uh, Texting too much can mess up your hands, the joints in your hands. And I've known a couple of people have had that. They've had to go to hand specialists, and they got the splint on their finger because you can overdo that. So modern life can mess us up. They didn't say typing; it's the texting.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
then the seventh one, skimping on sleep. And that's a tricky relationship right there because sometimes if you have joint pain, you can't sleep. But I guarantee you that sleeping is the number one way to heal your body. That's when your body naturally heals, Paul, when you sleep. So don't skimp on it. And we talked about sleeping in our last show. You know, you need between 6 and 9 hours of sleep. Everybody's a little different. I'm good with 7 hours of sleep myself.
I am too. Seven is good. Six at a minimum, but seven I'm good. I've been doing that as long as you do everything else right.
Well, everybody, you know the name of our show is The Wingmen Show. And the reason it's called The Wingmen Show is because we always try to highlight somebody who's a wingman, and that's somebody who looks after somebody else. In other words, checking their back. And we got a good one for you today: the round mound of rebound. My friend Charles Barkley. Wow, he's just given another $2 million to an HBCUs, which comes to $8 million he's given to these black universities. What a guy. And I love Charles Barkley because he said he's not a role model. And I used to say that all the time. Athletes, LeBron James, a great man, great guy, not a role model, because you can hang out with LeBron James for the rest of your life and you won't ever play like him. And yet, Dr. Paul's a real role model because if you hang out with him long enough, he can teach you how to fly an airplane. So, things that you can learn, those are role models. Some people have natural, beautiful instincts that just make them special. And all of us are LeBron James in something. It's just not basketball. It may be AI. You never know. But Charles Barkley, boy, he also said it. He's not a role model. What do you think about Charles, Paul?
Yeah, Charles he's very entertaining, and for those who don't know, he was a an ex basketball player, very very famous. He's on TV all the time now. He done a lot of commercials, but he hosts a show called TNT, and they're they're very popular. They're very 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 popular. Yeah, he's done a lot of good stuff. And one thing about him, think about it, he's been consistent. I mean, he was a consistently great player. That's why he's in the Hall of Fame. But he's been consistent in terms of his opinions and giving. You know, we didn't talk about it much, but he donated some money to that school in Louisiana. Remember we did it with the young girls who came up uh, with the different solutions of the Pythagorean theorem.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. Didn't he
New
get 3
Orleans.
million? If that was in New Orleans.
That was in New Orleans. Yeah, I think this is separate, but he was impressed by that. Well, and that's a good sign because everybody, to be known, we have to you say crazy things every once in a while. We don't do that on the Wingman Show, but other famous people do, so you kind of stay in everyone's thoughts. But behind the scenes, he always saw value in education, their education, and basically he put his money where his mouth was. Yeah, he's done stuff to HBCUs, even though he didn't attend an HBCU. He went to Auburn University, but he sees the value of the giving money to Spelman and Morehouse in Atlanta and uh, other schools in Atlanta. So that's
You
that's
know,
good for him to do that.
Paul, do you know what? I'm going to make Charles Barkley a role model, but not for his basketball, but for his giving. And all of us can follow that role. All right, everybody out there, if you can hear my voice, anything that you think is important, anything that you think is beautiful, and most importantly, anything that makes you happy, may you have that today and forever. I pray for peace.
I pray for peace too, Commander Drew. It's good seeing you again. And to all those who listen, like, and share our message, thank you for your attention. Please give us a thumbs up, especially if you're watching on YouTube. It helps the algorithm, helps us spread the message, and subscribe. Most of you are not subscribers. Just click the subscribe button and you'll get a notification every time we put on something new. But again, even in the midst of bad news, look for the good side of life, look for good things, and keep your head up. Thank you.
Good will overcome evil. Thank you once again, Dr. Paul Thompson, my friend. Thank you for your love, your time, and that's something that we won't ever get back. I want to thank all the listeners, too. Thank you so much for doing the show, Dr. Paul. We're jamming.
Well, thank you, Mr. Drew, for inviting me on. Always good to talk to you. And ladies and gentlemen, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to this podcast or any of the podcasts. If you're looking at YouTube, they say smash the like button. Don't smash it. Just press it gently and use as a link to all your friends. You can also look at us on our website, wingmenshow.com, WINGMEN show, SHOW.com, altogether, wingmenshow.com. And we hope to see you in the future. Thanks again, Mr. Drew.
Oh, you're welcome. And we're still floating like butterflies and stinging like bees. Rumble, you badass jet pilots, rumble. May there be peace on earth, and goodwill towards all men and women.